Hello, everyone, and welcome. Facts over fiction, or facts over feeling, is where we are discussing this morning. For some reason, I can't get onto Fanbase. I don't know what the issue is, but I appreciate your patience and I say thank you for being here. Fact over feeling. Sometimes we look out into the world that we're living in and we see something, well, because we have eyes, we have ears, we hear something. We can sense what is going on because we have senses. However, it is not always that those feelings generated, when you look at something and you say, oh my God, what's going to happen? Those are, feelings because you're interpreting the information. Like if you hear Billy Carson explain it from science, the brain is in darkness. It doesn't know what's going on, and that's why you have eyes, ears, nose, mouth, skin. To interpret they collect the information, give it to the brain, and the brain says, oh, this is what's happening. But the brain says this is what's happening because of memories, previous information. This is why when you begin to feel worried or stressed about a situation, sit down for a moment and recall the facts. What are the facts? The facts are the 7 principles of creation. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation. Shoot, you can stop there if you'd like, because it's clearly telling you what you're interpreting. What you are interpreting by way of your senses is a mental creation. Now the question is it the mental creation that you want to experience? This is the big question. Is it the mental creation you want to experience? But you know what we do, because, well, we've done it for so long. We look at the situation going on, we look at the experience and we go, oh my word! We clutch our pearls and we run around in fear and we freak out. I'm not saying I haven't done that. I'm telling you, because I'm human, we've all done it. Shoot, we still do it, because that's the usual instinct. Zola, I can't get onto Fanbase this morning. It will not let me even open up a room. It won't let me do any mail, nothing. So I'm glad you're here. But when we look out into the world with the experience we're having, what are the facts? The facts are, well, what I'm looking at is a mental creation of some sort. If you always start there, it will bring you some peace of mind, because it's telling you what you're looking at. Even though your senses, remember Neville says to deny the senses. He's not telling you to deny the senses because he's trying to be mean and telling you to pretend something isn't happening. He's telling you, what are the facts? Where's the law here? Is what Neville is saying. So today, what situation are you looking at? Pardon me. What situation are you looking at? What situation has you worried? That, you see it, you sense it. Now, what are the facts? The facts are, this is a mental creation. Is it my mental creation? Or is it someone else's mental creation? You always want to know, is it you or is it me? Because if you can say, oh, well, that's of my making, I've done that, I did that, well, then you know what to do. You know that you can do what? Change the thought. which is the cause, to generate a new experience. But if you look at that experience and you say, wait, whoa, that's not me. What happens when you recognize that it's not you? You walk on by, don't you? You walk on by and you leave it alone because it's not yours. We've already got enough to carry. You don't need to be picking up somebody else's and then having to work your way through that as well. You see, facts over feelings. Now, there's the difference between the sensation in your body. When you think about a thing, you have a memory about a thing, your body says, oh, but this is how we feel about that thing. That's the information stored in your subconscious mind. So then you can use the law of correspondence to say, okay, I feel this, I have this image in my mind. And every time I bring up this image, it brings this sensation. These two things are telling me they are in correspondence. I think of this, my body responds this way. And now, the person who's in your body, your spirit, your you, has a decision to make. Do you want the image in your mind and the sensation in your body to remain the same? Or do you want to change the association between those two things? So if every time you think of George and your shoulders go up and you start to breathe all shallow and you grit your teeth and you say, why I yada, your subconscious mind is telling you, we've had an interaction with George before and it didn't end well. So now you expect that every time you think of George, it won't end well. You see, correspondence, everything works according to law. But if you choose the facts, oh, so every time I think of George, I want to put my hands around his neck and slowly, no, but that's not what I want to be, right? That's not what I want to do. What would you like to do instead? You'd like to release yourself from the stress. So now you remind your body, okay, every time I think of George, instead of angst, I want to feel peace of mind. Because you know why? George did what George did because of what George has inside. And George will change when George is good and ready. George's behavior has nothing to do with me. And every time you think of George, you remind yourself of that. Why? Because the mind works by way of repetition and emotion. So when you are faced with a situation, it does not matter what the situation is. It does not matter what the situation is irrelevant. What matters is it your mental creation? If it is your mental creation, you know how to fix it. You know, the universe is a mental creation. And I keep having this persistent thought. Well, that's making everything. Okay, what thought would I like to have instead? Where do I want to start thinking instead? Because that new thought is going to make me speak a different way, which is going to make me behave in a different way. And that behavior is the one I want. So I'm going to do this thought every time. Every chance I get, I'm going to do this thought. I'm going to say this phrase, and I'm going to behave in this way. Because that's what you do when you're dealing with your mental creation. But if you ask, is that mental creation mine? And it is not yours, meaning it is a projection from somewhere else, someone else. Well, that's a piece of cake. Well, it's not yours. You don't have control to change it. It's not coming from you. So if it is not coming from you, move past it because it's not yours. You are responsible for you. And if you have small children, you're responsible for them. But the projections of someone else, that's their responsibility. Yeah, but Angela, what if I don't get along with that person? Again, fact over feelings. Is it your projection? Is it your mental creation? If it is your mental creation, then you get the responsibility of checking yourself and saying, I want to think this way so that I can behave this way. And you start to think in the new way so that you can start to behave in the new way. Why? Because every cause has an effect. What? Yes, the thought is the cause and your behavior is the effect. So you cannot have a cause and not have an effect because they go together. This is why action is always required. Action is always required because action is the effect. It is law. So it doesn't matter if it's in your house. It doesn't matter if it's in your work. It doesn't matter if you're in the grocery store. It does not matter where you are. Always go to the fact. And the fact of matter is what? Matter is your mental creation. You know, the fact of the matter is, right? That saying, the fact of matter is your mental creation. Matter is mental creation. And that's why you ask. We don't lose our cool. We don't freak out. We stop and we ask, what are the facts? Is this my mental creation? And I promise you, if you start doing that, just start so you can experience it for yourself. I bet you'll begin to realize a lot of tension is leaving you. A lot of angst is leaving you. Well, why? Because you're not picking up responsibility that does not belong to you, and you are also taking charge of what is in your care. That's what we do on a daily basis. We take the moment to ask the simple question, whose mental creation is this? That's what we stop and we ask. I promise. When you do it, when you start practicing it, when you start experiencing it, you will feel like, ooh, I feel a little lighter. But of course you'll feel a lot lighter. You will feel a lot lighter. Why? Why would you feel lighter? You feel lighter because you are taking charge of what is in your control. What's in your control? Your mental faculties. Your mental creations are in your control. So when you stop and you ask, oh, is that my mental creation? That's all you're concerned with. Because if you can answer that and say yes or no, you will act accordingly. You know those diagrams that say, if the answer is yes, go here. If the answer is no, do this. That is what you're doing. It really, truly helps to free your mind up. It always helps to free your mind up because we get overwhelmed with just things. Oh, this person cut me off. Oh, this person did that. Is that your mental creation? Or is it coming from somewhere else? If it is yours, what effect would you like to experience instead? Well, then you've got to change the thought. And you don't just change the thought once. Well, why not, Angela? Because you program the subconscious mind by way of what? Repetition. So you must do that new thought so that you can speak the new words and do what? The new actions every single time. Remember, it's just like learning a song. When you can sing the song without assistance, meaning you don't have to do the karaoke, read the words bouncing across the screen, then you can sing those words. It is in your subconscious mind. Because now you're recalling it from memory. Why? Because you repeated it how many times? You see, this is why we get caught up in, but I tried it. I did it once. I did that for 30 days. I did it for 90 days. And if you remember that the subconscious mind is programmed by way of repetition or repetition with strong emotion, well, then we wouldn't quit so easily. This is why we always refer to fact. The law is fact. I can look outside the window and there is blue sky. It is day. Well, if you're in the Arctic, it's going to be day for 24 hours because it's summer for them pretty much. And if you're in the winter, it is darkness 24 hours. But even with that, do you not see the rhythm? Every summer, you get all daylight. Every winter, you get all darkness. Do you see the rhythm? Even then, the rhythm is fact. You cannot escape the law. But if you use it, you will change your life. Let us take a moment now to welcome everyone into the space. Fanbase is not here this morning on my iPad because I couldn't get in. I couldn't do anything. I clicked on it and it just swirled and swirled and swirled. So we don't have Fanbase today, but we have Twitter. Jeff, hello. Muck45. Hello, darling. I have not seen you in quite some time. It is good to see you here in the Twitter sphere. YouTube, hello. We have Cyber in the house. We have Nancy, Ms. M, Tracy, darling, hello. Synovia, Oracle Treehouse, Zola, Jamea. These are fan-based people who came already. Yay, I see you. Anot, the better man. I see you all. Ah, KZ. She's also from our fan-base universe. Let's see, there's a question. Does self-entitled fit into this? Nancy, elaborate on what you mean by self-entitled. Cyber says, Ties Tidbits, I see you. I just woke up from a dream about rejecting projections. The mind working out the lessons from the, aha! I'll say it again, you just woke up from a dream about rejecting projections. Sounds timely to me, Cyber. Sounds timely to me. But that's what we do. Because yesterday I kind of sort of touched on it for facts over feelings. Those feelings come when you say, oh, you've offended me. Oh, you've hurt me. We get those feelings. Why? You watch what you say to me. Right? Feelings. There's some kind of a perceived offense. But if you stop for a minute, baby. Anyway, if you stop for a minute and you ask, is this my mental creation? There's a reason. Let me reiterate that reason again. If you answer yes, this is my mental creation, then all the power to you, you can fix it. But if you say, no, that's not my mental creation, what can you do about it? Nothing, because it's not coming from you. You don't have control over what somebody thinks and says. So that gives you the power to now say, not my circus, not my monkeys, and you move on. That's what it allows you to do. Do you not see the power you now hold? Someone believing they are meant to have something that's not theirs. Well, let me sit with that one for a moment. Someone believing they are meant to have something that's not theirs. Well, who's to say it's not theirs? For instance, is it your house that you're living in? And they just come along and say, oh, I will confiscate that. That's mine. Is that what you mean by something that's not theirs? Like your possessions? The reason I ask is because possessions are different from just feelings, right? So elaborate some more, Nancy, so I get the full picture so I can respond by way of law. But you see, as we go through life, right, it is very easy because we've been doing it for such a long time. It is very easy to take up an offense. Well, you were mean to my bestie, so I'm not your friend anymore. Which means, is that your mental creation? Or is it just that this is your friend and you are taking up something on their behalf? You're being their champion. When we do things like that, always assess the situation. Before, what do they tell you? Don't run off half-cocked. don't just jump right in there. You must observe the situation first. Observe the situation. That makes perfect sense, does it not? If you observe the situation, you can make a better choice. Then you won't say, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. I see the question. Right. So if now that is your property, that's your property. Now you get to decide, how do I want this situation? What mental creation do I want to happen here? What effect would I like? So you gather your evidence, because this is all one can do. If you are the owner, you gather the evidence of what is yours, because there always is evidence. It's called a car note. It's called a deed. It's called a lease. You have your evidence. That is all that is required. You know you have your evidence, and now you say, okay, what is this effect I would like? You know what? I would like all the justice to be on my side because this is my property and I have the evidence to back it up. And so now when you state that fact, because it is law, you state that fact, well, this is actually my possession. Let it be from there. Let it be from there. Why? Because the person who does not actually have ownership of it, what can they do but falsify information? That's why I say we don't run around and panic. We find the evidence that supports what we own. This is what you do with physical things. Again, house, car, paternity. The actual physical evidence. I want to see the part of me I was taught. And, but that's it. That's exactly it. When someone is projecting or showing you their hand, their actions, that's a clear sign. But that's not my mental projection, is it? That's not mine. So if it is not yours, do not engage with it, because you have no control over what they project other than to step out of the way. That's the control you have. I trust that makes sense. Let's see. Life draws sketches, observations. Well, hello. I've never said your name before. Welcome to the space. Oh, Double A, you are in two places at once. I see you now. I get it. I get it. But yes, if we take the time, always take the time to assess the situation instead of jumping in. This is what we call self-control. But self-control comes the more you use the law. You see, it shapes you, yes? The law will shape you. So if you say, I want to behave in a particular way, I want to do this. Well then, what are you doing? By way of repetition, you are reprogramming yourself to act accordingly. A wise man says, order your emotions, remove chaos from your life. And the way to order your emotions is to what? We order our emotions by recognizing what their purpose is. It is showing you something. It's not saying, fight, fight. It's not doing that. It's saying, here's the present situation. How would you like to behave? But because we have been conditioned to behave in unsavory ways, meaning, well, you've offended me, I'm going to slap you into next week, right? That's what we do. But the disciplined person does what? The disciplined person always refers to law, fact. They will always say, is this my mental creation? Let me take responsibility. Let me be accountable, is what they'll say. That is discipline. Meaning what? You act in a particular way. You have a particular behavior. But the undisciplined, what's disciplined? The mind is disciplined. The only thing to discipline. The undisciplined person is ruled by emotions and feelings. And they just behave by way of those things. No reason, no logic, no thought. They just act. They're on autopilot. That's how the undisciplined mind behaves. The disciplined mind watches, observes, and then it chooses based upon causation. Well, what would I like to happen? What effect would I like? Oh, but Angela, that's so much hard work. That means I have to be checking myself all the time? Funny thing, that. How does the mind work again? How do we program the subconscious mind again? By way of repetition. So if you repeatedly make the choice of saying, is this my mental creation? And answering it, what do you think will happen? You will reprogram yourself to always do what? Is this mine? And if you say yes, you will do the right thing according to law. And if you say no, you will do the right thing according to law. So you don't always have to be checking yourself. Program yourself to behave the way you want to behave. So it will take you some practice. But once you practice, this is why I tell you, choose the habit you want, as opposed to just allowing it to rule you. Because if you choose the habit of the way of a disciplined mind, you will realize that after 30, 60, 90, 180 days, you're a completely different person. You don't jump into things, but you assess and you move according to what you are creating. But it does not happen because you are programmed by way of repetition. So once, as I've said before, once that song takes root and you don't need the words anymore, it is in your subconscious, and that is where you will do what? Live from. But sometimes we get a little impatient with ourselves. Oh, this is taking too long. You don't have time to think about what's taking too long. Because if you say, well, this is taking too long, you've just disrupted the repetition. You've just disrupted the new program you're creating. That's what you've done. Every time, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Oh, right? But if you stay focused to the action or the thought, the words, because it's one motion, yes? You stay focused on the behavior, that repetition over and over and over again, well, then the sooner you get to live from that place. This is why Neville can tell you, you can pop in and out of states at will. But that takes practice. it takes practice. Hmm. Uh, it's the mirror of her, um, something that wants to be loved. Yes. Well, if you look at it, that's truly where we're all coming from, isn't it? Love and acceptance is what we want. Sometimes we have a distorted view of what we think love is, but that's usually what it is. That's usually the root of it. Acceptance, appreciation, love. To fit in, to belong. But if you don't practice belonging in your own self, how do you do that? By recognizing, who are you? Remember earlier this week when we spoke about meditation, it is getting that sense of you, right? Getting the sense and the feeling of you, the familiarity of you, so that when you feel what's not you, you know. But you have to have the benchmark. The benchmark is, this is me. I am. So when something comes along that does not resonate with you, that doesn't feel like you, I'm not talking about emotions. I'm talking about recognition. Even if you put it this way, if you're at the door of someone's house and, you and somebody else have the same pair of shoes, they look the same. But when you put them on, you'll know, whoa, these look like mine, but they're not. Why? Because they don't feel like your feet. There is a memory there. This is why you hear these things of know thyself. When you know you know what's not you. And the more you know of yourself, right, then you begin to know what your mental creations are versus someone else's projections. Because you know what your shoes feel like on your feet. You know. I trust that makes sense. Because, like I say, sometimes things can be overwhelming. But if we take the time to sit and assess what is fact, we will always be in the right frame of mind. You'll be in the right frame of mind. Frame. Who has frames? Pictures have frames. You'll be in the right frame of mind. You'll know. This is taking accountability. That's a word we throw about. We just throw it out there all the time. You should be more accountable. But we say it so much, it loses its meaning. It just becomes part of the woodwork now. But this practice, you're just practicing your new program until it takes root. Like I said, it's quite like learning that song. Practice, practice, practice. Until you go from practice to, oh snap, I live this way now. We don't have to concern ourselves with how long is it going to take. As I said, do not disrupt the process. Disrupting the process means you're putting in the work, but you have time to stop putting in the work to ask, am I done now? You'll know when you're done. Neville calls it the Sabbath. He goes, you now go impotent after you're done. And the other analogy is, you've learned the words, you don't need to look at the words anymore. Because you can get up and sing the song anywhere. You can get up and recite the poetry anywhere. Of course, unless you're Lil Wayne, he doesn't write anything down. But you hear what I'm saying to you this morning. Be empowered to know. To know. You have that capability. if we would just use it. But what if I'm doing it wrong? The same action, the same way, every time. The same action, the same way, every time. The same action, the same way, every time. That is a habit, which is repetition, which is what? Programming the subconscious mind. So if you are doing the same action the same way every time, well then, you are correct. You are correct. Never a need to say, oh no, am I right? Am I wrong? Don't be concerned with right or wrong. What are you doing is the concern. Because if you look around, you'll see that something is being done the same way every time. Every time something is being done the same way. So it is up to you and I to do the thing. Have the experience. And yesterday, I don't know if you were part of the live stream yesterday, but this came out of it. The difference between the journey of life or the game of life. If you begin to recognize that you're just a series of programs, not just, but if you know what I mean, that subconscious mind is there for you to use so that you can live optimally. But if you don't know how it works, somebody does, because we all went to school. We all work. We're all doing the same thing in the same way every day. So you see, programming is always happening. Programming is always happening. Do you not want the freedom to do your own programming? This is what the freedom actually is. To program yourself instead of being programmed. This is the true freedom. This is the true freedom. Beauty Queen Anika, I see you, darling. Welcome. I trust it makes sense today. I trust that it does. The true freedom is to be the one to program yourself. Now that you know how it works, repetition. Repetition. And you see, sometimes we program ourselves unconsciously. You know, something happens and you respond a particular way. Something emotional usually is what it is, because it's instantaneous with that emotion, that quick impression upon the subconscious mind. And so now you just continue doing what you've done based upon that quick impression. And it becomes your way of life. And you're like, well, why? Why does that keep happening to me? Right? Then you see it, and when you ask yourself those kinds of questions, you don't ask those questions to beat yourself up or to judge yourself. This has to be stressed. We do not ask questions to beat ourselves up. We ask ourselves questions to ascertain, hey, is this working for me? Is this program working? No. Well, then how do I make a new program? Same thing in the same way every time. Repetition. And if I want to speed up that process, what emotion is strongest that I can interject in there? And you use it. So that every time you're doing the same thing in the same way every time, add the emotion. Sprinkle it in. And sooner rather than later, you begin to live in a new way. It is best to live in a new way because you decided to and you set it in motion, versus living in a new way because there's something running in the background that you don't know is there. Right? That's why sometimes when we say things like, are you ever going to change? You cannot change if you are unaware of what is running in the background, because you can't see it. But when it makes itself known to you, now you can change. But I've been this way for 50 years, and you can change. You really can. So that's all I wanted to tell you this morning. Always go to fact. Law is fact. The universe is a mental creation. I know I say the law all the time, but what if there's somebody new who doesn't know what the law is? So let's expand on the law. The laws, the 7 principles of creation, the 7 hermetic principles, are the laws of nature then. Truly. The all is mind. The universe is a mental creation, which means you're having a persistent thought. You're going to have the persistent corresponding experience. Why? Because as within you, so must you experience on the outside. You walk around with anger and bitterness and you're always fighting in your mind. Surprise! You will get to fight and argue on the outside with somebody. Because everything moves, it vibrates, it doesn't stand still, it can't stand still. Because creation is always happening. So it vibrates, and it vibrates between 2 poles. It has to swing. It swings. Polarity. They appear to be opposites, but they are the same. For instance, love and hate are exactly the same. What do you mean? Love and hate are the same. Well, crimes of passion, right? You love them so much, well, you hate them so much, well, you see, love and hate are the same. Hot and cold, the same. The difference being the vibration, because everything moves. Ice cubes, their molecules move very slowly. That's why it appears to be solid. But boiling water, the molecules are moving much faster, thus we get steam. But are they not both water? For one, and 2, hot and cold. Because if you, in the winter, when you drive by the lake or the river, steam is coming off. The water's so cold it's hot. It burns. So is the one on the stove. They're both hot, but one's cold. They are the same. Polarity is usually tricky for people, but that's okay. But you see the vibration as the pendulum swings between the 2 poles. It creates a rhythm. That rhythm gives you an ebb, and it gives you a flow. High tide, low tide. Winter, spring, summer, fall. Rain, shine. We have an ebb and we have a flow. Yes? But then, causation. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has a cause. This is causation. You do this. Gravity is causation. It's also vibration too, because you can't separate the laws. They're all one. And then we have the law of gender. Not to be confused with man, woman, boy, girl. That is sex. Gender, we're going to use correspondence to understand above and below. Gender, by way of mental, which is above. You must project a thought from the conscious mind into the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind brings all the necessary components to bring that thing into material fact. Now, that is above. But what's below that mirrors this? It has to correspond. You have the male. The male has to project. So masculine is the projection. I am being very masculine right now. I am projecting these words. You are being feminine at the moment because you are hopefully accepting these words into your subconscious mind. And then what happens to you? The subconscious mind has to bring forth offspring. What is the offspring? Your actions. But then take it a little lower. Male projects seeds into the womb of the female, thereby bringing forth squiggly offspring, chubby offspring. Yes? So you see, as above, so below. Those are the 7 principles. You can find them in the KYBALION. Right? These principles, you can find them in nature. Scripture tells you reap what you've sown. Well, that means if you planted tulips, like right outside my window right now, tulips are coming in. I know exactly what's been planted. I didn't plant those bulbs, but there they are. I know they're tulips. How do I know? The bulb brings forth what is within itself. As within, so without. You cannot plant a tulip bulb and get carnations. And you will always know what you've planted based upon the harvest that comes in. Even if you forget, you'll know what you've planted based upon the harvest. As within, so without. You can only get an oak tree from what? An acorn. As within, so without. That's why these are called the laws of nature. They govern all of creation, from the sun all the way down to the smallest thing we can't see. They're all governed by the same laws. And if we, well, live by way of them consciously, which means they're always happening. If you're a girl, well, whether the cycle is late or on time, it is irrelevant. You still have one, right? If it's delayed, you still got one. We're all governed by these laws, whether we want to believe it or not. The laws are not there to be believed. They're there to be observed. And one of the truest places you will see the law is if you garden. I don't know who you are, but if I walk by your garden, I can do what? I can tell you what you've planted. Oh, I'm not a prophet. I'm not a psychic. I just look at what you've grown in your garden. That's what makes me know. So you see, the laws cannot be escaped. Why would you want to? They give you freedom. They give you freedom to line yourself up. This is why we have schedules. Think about the rhythm. For all of you new parents out there, you're putting your babies to sleep on a schedule. Why? Because a schedule, the law of rhythm, brings comfort and peace. Why? Because it is predictable. But why is that necessary? Because the human likes predictability. We're designed that way. That's why we have habits, because then there are no surprises. But then the law of rhythm tells you there aren't any surprises. There's no chance. There's no luck. Everything happens according to law. We only say luck because we don't know the law. So you see, it does not matter where you go. The Bible will tell you, neither height nor depth, heaven or hell can separate you from the love of God. What does that mean? It means it doesn't matter how high you go, how low you go. You're governed by law. Period. That's it. Law. Everything works according to it. And that's why you don't believe the law. You see it. Listen, you see it, you experience it, you know it. Believing would be me saying to you, oh, I have carnations in my windowsill. Are you in my windowsill? How do you know? You believe me because I said so. But to know is you drove by, you're like, oh my God, Angela, those carnations are lovely in your window. Because then you would know. That is the difference between knowing and believing. So the law does not ask you to believe it. The law says, I'm here. See me, know me, use me. That's what the law says. And so when you hear things about manifestation, live your best life, now you begin to put things into perspective. It's not woo-woo. not far-fetched. What do they call it now? Quantum? Yes. Use them. Learn how to use them. Because you're already doing it anyway. So you may as well be conscious of what you're doing. That's what the law wants you to be. That's why you don't have to believe the law. The law is saying, hey, I'm right here. Here's how I work. If you say, well, I don't understand rhythm, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. Ebb and flow, rhythm. Line yourself up with it. This is how you apply the law. Right? The law brings peace of mind. It does. It's a comfort to know, whew, if I do this, this is going to happen. Predictable. No surprises. That's why we learn the law and we live by it every day. And if you pay attention to the law, you'll realize there's no trickery in it. It is what it is. There's no, well, maybe if you do it this way or that way. And another thing with the law is the law doesn't say, Nancy, my girl, you're my favorite. I'm only going to work in your favor. No. The law has no favorites. The law has no friends. The law doesn't care. Because it is law. How can it care? Oh, but I feel like I'm being punished. No, everything works according to law. So what's happening to you and to me in our lives is all by way of law. And so if you say, I do not like this, well then, look at polarity. Polarity is telling you that pendulum is swinging between two poles. Over here is this particular vibration, and it shows itself like this, lonely. Over here on the other end, it shows companionship. And you say, I don't want to be lonely anymore. Lonely, I'm so lonely. You say, I don't want that. So what can you do? Well, what do you like to do? Get out and do things. If you get out and do things and meet people, you move yourself towards companionship. Use the law at every turn. That's why we refer to fact instead of feelings. But I feel lonely. Yes, it is only a feeling, but what's the fact? The fact is, if I go out and do things, but Angela, I'm shy. I'm so shy. I'm scared of people. Are you? But that's just a memory, because something happened to you back in the day that caused you to retreat into yourself. It's a way of protection. So are you in danger right now? No. Well then, what's the fact? The fact is, if I go out and I do something I like, and I'm walking down the aisle at the grocery store or the laundromat and somebody smiles, I'm going to smile back. That's what I'm going to do. And if they say hello, I will say hello also. Why? Because the fact is, you don't want to be lonely anymore. Companionship is what you want. So you don't sit and say, I'm so lonely. You sit and you look at polarity and you say, then I must move in the direction of companionship. I must go out and make friends. I must be bold. I must be courageous. I must be confident. Well then, what does confidence feel like? Ooh. Arnold Schwarzenegger does not walk down the hallway, shoulders slumped. No, he has that chest up, and now he spent all that time and effort making his chest look that way. He's going to show it. Well, then you move with confidence. You notice how the pendulum swings, so you have to move and get out and make friends. That is the law of polarity and how you use it. So this is why we refer to fact every time. The law is cold, hard fact. So if you say, okay, I'm going to reap what I sow. All right, what do I want to sow? Because I want this. That's what I'm going to reap. So what do I want to plant? What attitude do you want to plant? That's the seed, because it will give you the harvest that you want. It will give you the experience that you want. This is how you use the law on a daily basis. You don't just plant seeds in the ground, you plant seeds in your mind. As above, so below. So if you plant seeds in the ground, well, then you're planting seeds above in your mind. The law of correspondence. Anyway, I will leave you with that today. Because I love you. And we're all learning. Use the fact of the law, not your, I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Yes, you know exactly what to do. You do. You know what to do. Then be bold and do it. The law has already showed you what to do. It says, look at that, we're in spring. I can plant things. Spring cleaning. I have old thoughts that no longer work for me. I have old behaviors that no longer work for me. Let me plant new behaviors and new seeds and begin to behave that way. So come fall, my harvest is different. It's changed your life. So don't say, I don't know what to do. Look at nature. Look at the laws of nature, and you will know exactly how to behave. Don't act a fool, act a law. You heard it here first. I know I'm cheesy. It's all good. Anywho, I love you all, and I look forward to hearing from you. K-Frame, I see you. Synovia, darling, you're at work. Nancy, I know, right? But not your projection, not your circus, not your monkeys. Beauty Queen Anika, Double A, I see you in both places. And Zola, Ties, Tidbits, KZ, Ms. M, Tracy, Oracle Treehouse, A Not, The Better Man. And for all the names I did not say because you perhaps didn't make yourself known in the chat, I see you. Jeff, darling, thank you so much for being here in Twitter sphere. Fan base, perhaps I'll shake it and do the thing, you know. This happened this morning. You're welcome, Zenobia. And Cyber, thank you as well. Enjoy the beauty of the day. Countdown, initiate. 5, 4, 3. See, we've already had the last remnants of the gravy from the bowl. Oh, yes, we have. 2, 1. Much, much love to all of you. And Jeff, enjoy your beautiful day. Much love. Twitter is closed. So YouTube. That's it. That's it. I love you all. And I truly appreciate you being here. And if I'm hoping I didn't miss any questions, because I scrolled back. If I did, slide into my DMs, or you can go to my Linktree and there's a little mail icon. You can click on it there and drop me your question. And as always, I will do my best to interpret it via way of law. Yes? So thank you all for being here. Much love, everybody. Much love.